Okay, so welcome to another episode of the Masashi Training Temple. Now, in this week's episode, it's not going to be a game review, I'm afraid. This is going to be a short and sweet episode, basically just to put out there something that I've been working on that I think could be a fun and just a new, interesting kind of format, event style. So, if anyone knows how to run events, your input would be very much appreciated. Anyone who has any ideas or comments about what I'm about to talk about, please let me know, get in touch. You can reach me on the forum, just Masashi, or you can send me an email on masashitrainingtemple@gmail.com, or just say it on here. If you think the idea sucks and it's a rubbish one, then by all means tell me. But I've enjoyed doing it so far, and hopefully it's a good idea and people will like it. So I've already pitched it to the tournament advocate, who thought it was a reasonable idea to start with, perhaps, and he basically just recommended putting it out there to the universe and seeing what happens, seeing what comes back. So without further ado, let me show you what I've been working on. Okay, so here it is. I hope you can see it all right. I'll just zoom in slightly. Hopefully that looks better. But yeah, so I'm calling it Movie Mayhem. And basically, it's an event based on the timeline of the 9 films. So here's what I'm thinking. It's a 3-man teamed event. Each player would play 2 games per round. A round is based on the film for that time period. It's Swiss style point system with deck construction points thrown in. This is something I'm toying with, this idea, but basically deck construction points are points awarded to teams on the inclusion and the use of certain cards. So they're cards you don't have to play, but if you do, you win points, and what the points win? Prizes. So that's kind of, an added incentive. Plus I was thinking, if I make certain decks have like these deck construction points, is I can include cards that you don't normally see played but you'd like to. Let's see what top players are able to do with that card, or how they would incorporate it into a deck or a build. So this is, I think anyone who plays Star Wars is competitive. You play games because you want to win them, but Star Wars is just a really fun game to play. So this is more of a fun thing to do rather than it being a serious competition. But if possible, I can beg, borrow, steal from the advocates to try and get some kind of points and prizes going. That would be amazing. So as I said, the rounds are based on the 9 Star Wars films. So I'm kind of thinking 1 round, you could have a month perhaps to compete in it. It does mean it'd be a long stint. So obviously 9 rounds, 9 months. If you had played 3, had 1 off, that would cover the entire year. Which people's enthusiasm would wear off by then, but hopefully not. And if it's a free event, why not play in it? Anyway, these are all just me doing a brain dump. So if there's things in here that you think just are really bad ideas, or doesn't work, let me know. But yeah. So each round has 3 games. Decks based on the current timeline of the movies. The decks assigned don't always match up like you might think with the following film timeline. And then decks will have must-use cards in them as well. What do I mean by they don't always match up? Well, quite often we put decks together. I've seen it, people in the lobby will say, what's a fun 2 decks that can be played against each other? And you'll have the obvious, like Prophet versus Court, Invasion versus WAP, Combat versus Combat. And whilst some of them do have that kind of synergy, I guess, I think they get put together because they came out in the same set. But when it comes to the movie timeline, you don't actually see perhaps that objective and that objective at the same time in the movie. So that's what I'm kind of working with. This is a semi-thematical tournament, obviously, because it's based on the films, but it's not super strict. I know Wen's got an event where it's very much like, if you're playing in episode 1, you have to use episode 1 characters, and I think he even has it so that you can't use a certain character in a build if they haven't reached that level. So, you can't play Jedi Knight Luke in a New Hope style build. Not that strict with this, but it is, kind of tailored to the films, obviously. So what do I mean? Let me show you. So round 1 would be based on the Phantom Menace. And what I've done is I've just wrote a little kind of a brief about the stage in the film, just to kind of give ideas of why certain decks would be picked. So episode 1, obviously, opens up with the Trade Federation's invasion of Naboo. The Queen manages to escape in her Nubian ship. It gets damaged, and then they have to stop off at Tatooine. So game 1, we have invasion, but it's versus hyperdrive instead of WAP, because WAP is right at the end of the film. It's not at the beginning. And then the inclusion cards for invasion are Droid Racks V. So you're gonna have to use destroyer droids. I was thinking about making it, the normal battle droids from episode 1, but I couldn't think of how to word it, or I didn't want it to be a ban list like we have with Jawa, but I didn't want the B2 battle droids to be used in this round because they're obviously not in the films at this point, so I thought this is the easiest way of doing that. And then in hyperdrive, I went with R2, brave little droid, because it's only thanks to R2 really that anyone lives in Star Wars. He is the unsung hero of every single Star Wars film. This could change. Obviously, there are certain cards for hyperdrive that maybe you think you've got a better one that would need to be included in this build. Let me know. None of this is set in stone. This was just, like I say, me brain dumping, getting something on paper to pitch to the tournament committee. I've already mentioned it to Chris. I think I might have said that a minute ago. Losing my marbles, but yeah, I just wanted to get it out there to the public and see what kind of response I get. So moving on, while on Tatooine, we're obviously introduced to Watto and pod racing, and then the Queen escapes to Coruscant, where Padme's first action is to go and plead her case to the Senate. So game 2 would be Watto versus Lightside Senate. Now I know you might think, well, Watto and hyperdrive, they're normally ones we just pair together because they came out in the same set. But if you're playing Watto and your opponent drops hyperdrive, it feels very uphill. Your site gets converted straight away, so you lose out on activation. The opponent, Lightside, is just going to pile the junkyard because they want to win their battles, they want to get 4 strains, and where else does Watto go? What else does he do for damage? So not only does that kind of break that uphill slogfest for Darkseid, but it kind of ties in a little bit more with the films. Watto, he's on Tatooine, he's doing his own thing. I did think about making pod racing a must for Watto, but I'm not sure whether that's too niche and annoying. So that's why this is blank. I haven't sort of figured out a must include yet for this game 2. However, if you've watched the latest Holotheater, it's now the 7th of April. So I think last week's one, maybe. They mentioned there's a few tweaks and things that are coming out for set 18 that are going to give Watto a bit of a helper. So maybe some of those will be like must includes and will help with that. Anyway, moving on. Game 3. So the Queen returns to Naboo. She hatches the plan. We have a plan to get back the palace, but determined to stop her in a way is the Sith Lord Darth Maul and his double-bladed lightsaber. So game 3, Darkseid combat, must be Maul, which I think is kind of everyone's go-to guy probably, but let's just make sure it is. I did think about making it it must be Lord Maul. Not sure whether that's he probably is the guy to use, I guess, if you're doing combat, but yeah, this is just got me mull anyway, versus WAP. And then I put, you've got to have 3 handmaidens but no duplicates. Not sure if that's a good idea, and I know some WAP players already play handmaidens, so did think about changing it to must include Panaka and Padme's blaster, which could be good, could be bad, I don't know. It just, anyway, something to include for that. And then this is one where I've put the deck construction points. So for Darkside Combat, Qui-Gon's End, you get a point for including it. So like I say, you don't have to put these in. If you put it in, you get a point. If you play it, you get 2 points. So, you know, WAP's going to have a Qui-Gon in. If you manage to duel him and win and play Qui-Gon's End, you get 3 points. For light side, put Naboo Celebration. This because this is a card that I really would like to try and fit into my deck, but it's just not good enough. It's Destiny 5 though, so if you want to include it, you get a point, and if you play it, you get a point. Might change this so it's 1 and 1, so it's equal. But this would be something to discuss, you know, as you, with your team. Do you want to try and win, you know, for a deck slot? Is it more advantageous to not play Qui-Gon's End? Or do you want to try and get the 2 or 3 points to win something? So that's what I'm thinking. I will just show you round 2 quickly, because this is another one that I've semi-finished. Episode 2 obviously starts off the assassination attempt on Padme, and also we find out, you know, Yoda's been communing with Qui-Gon Jinn. Now, I can't remember if this is right at the end of episode 1, or if it's, I know he's definitely doing it because he's in the meditation chamber, isn't he? And Mace comes in. So we've got Senate versus Prime Munin, and then because Padme's life is in danger, you have to include 3 assassins in the Senate build. So we have now, thankfully, to Shadow Collective, a number of assassins. I think Oris, I'm not sure if Orising's an assassin actually, but we have a few. So I haven't put it on here, but I was actually thinking about making this a deck construction points, where if you included more than 3, you would get 1 point for each extra. I don't think I put it down because I couldn't think of what to do for Qui-Gon at the moment, but for Qui-Gon Communion, you have to play the nightclub. So this, to me, means you have to play Jedi Business, which means no Luke Skywalker. Because I think he's like, it's mainly him and Mace get put in this deck. So kind of pigeonholes you to episode 1 Jedi only, hopefully. If not, you can have the nightclub floating around. I don't think people like to just have a random location floating around in their deck, so that's why I put that one down. Moving on, we find out about this fallen Jedi called Count Dooku, who has something to do with the Trade Federation. But then we see Anakin, he's plagued by dreams of his mother suffering, and decides to go off from Naboo to Tatooine to rescue her. So we have Game 2, Revenge of the Sith, Dooku versus Your Thoughts Dwell on Your Mother, which I think, you know, ties perfectly well. Also interesting that I've seen a couple of people play Revenge of the Sith, mainly the Maul version. I have seen a Vader one, but never a Dooku at the moment. So, you know, some of these decks are just because that's why I want to see what people do with them, because I'm not the best deck builder, and this is obviously thematic, so that's that. And then episode 2 ends with the Battle of Geonosis, where we get to see the B2 battle droids, but also the freshly grown clone army. So because we don't have any Geonosian cards as of yet, it's very simple. It's battle droids versus clones. So you have to include 6 B2 battle droids and 8 clone troopers. I'm thinking about pushing the clone troopers up to 10. But then the rest of it is open. So what planet you want to start on? Do you do a slip sliding away, or do you do a careful planning? careful combat response? Do you do careful planning, or do you do let the Wookiee win start? So that's totally up to the builder, but you must include these cards. So basically that's where I'm up to. I will show you Revenge of the Sith very quickly. This is one I haven't finished yet. So obviously episode 3 opens the battle over Coruscant with supposedly Senator Palpatine is kidnapped. So we've got ASM versus Wookiees. Not sure if this is the perfect kind of thing, but I feel like the next 2 decks I didn't want to change. So Wookiees, you have to use Kachiko with the Wookiee Homestead. I put this in again because it's just I want to see. I've been playing Wookiees recently, having a bit of a mess around with them, and they're fun, but I just can't get them to work. So I want to see what other people come up with, and I haven't thought of a must include yet for ASM. The same with the next 2 builds. We've got Revenge of the Sith, Vader the Betrayer versus combat with Mace Windu. So trying to go along that time frame of Anakin, is he gonna stop Mace? Obviously not. So we've got the new Vader and Sidious versus Mace Windu doing some combat. It could be interesting. And then finally we're gonna have Hunt Down with Epic Duel. You have to use Vader the Betrayer versus some kind of General Kenobi deck. I can't think of what to do that would make General Kenobi like an outstanding main figure in the deck, bar saying you have to include 3 General Kenobis or something, which just sounds boring. So if anyone's got any ideas of a must include or a build deck that could focus around General Kenobi, please shoot me a comment. So that's all I've got so far on this document. I have got another one that has pretty much got every single film with all the kind of deck builds that I would like to go with. 1 or 2 need finalising. But I will show that maybe next week or over the next coming weeks. I'll see if people get in touch about this, see what they think. And yeah, just let me know. I just think it's something fun to do. It's a bit different. It's thematic. We get to see a lot of different builds, different games that we don't normally see. And yeah, just let me know. And until next time, may the Force be with you and take care of yourselves.